pointed tail came out of her rectum.
No, 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 no. No means no, and yes means no. And so you're flocculous, because everything you do, everything you're around, and everything you touch is flop. Menagerie of mutts over there.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's good, people? What is up? What's up, people? What's up? It's me, L3027, and I am back for yet another review. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our review for David Makes Man. This is season 2. It is episode 3. It is entitled Y'all Gucci. That is the actual title, Y'all Gucci. Anyway, so before I begin, let me give a shout out to you all as viewers, subscribers, members, and everything. Y'all really be in the comment section. I continue to say that. I have to say, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate when you disagree with me and when you fact check me. So keep the comments coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. All right. So we start off with David waking up. He's in the mirror. You know, he's hearing, some might say hearing voices, but others might say just thinking about JG and how much people love him and see it for him. And when he was a kid, he talked about how Mix Elijah would say he had charisma and how just everybody, even as viewers, we love some JG, even from a little boy. He's infectious. And for him to be in the state that he's in, it's bothering David. And so also, I should know, because I pay attention to the small things. So as it's coming on at this exact moment when David is in the mirror looking at himself and he's shaving his head or whatever, the credits are going by, and what do I see scroll across the bottom? Nathaniel Logan McIntyre. You know what that means? Saren. That's the actor who played Saren. Shouts out to him. I don't even know if he watches my reviews, but shouts out to you. When I saw that, I got excited because y'all know I said they had until episode 3. And if I didn't see no Saren, listen, I don't know if the writers watch my reviews or whatnot. I do know Achille McDowell retweeted a tweet of mine when I posted my review on Twitter, and so did Kwame Patterson. So both actors who played the young and the old David have retweeted my tweet with my reviews, but they must have listened when I said if they didn't give me no Saren by episode 3, it was going to be a problem. So we'll get there. Anyway, so David goes to the hospital. The doctor is there, and the doctor, she comes out and she gives the family an update on JG. She lets them know, listen, we thought it was just his abdomen, but it did a little more damage than that. It lacerated, I think his liver and spleen, I believe. Anyway, there was internal damage. And so she was saying, but what we need right now is we need to induce a coma because he needs more rest. That's the only way he's going to get better with more rest. So, of course, Glow is like, okay, girl. Because Glow was like, well, is this normal? Would you do it? She was like, all right, well, whatever we need to do to get him better. So Trish, JG's, girlfriend or whatever she is, says, I don't know. I got to think about it. Listen, this whore worked my last goddamn nerve, even considering not doing what the doctor said would help JG. Like, girl, when I tell you collectively, we across the fruited plains that were watching at that time was like, girl, we will fuck you up about some JG. A mess. But, and David talks to her for a little bit, and she eventually acquiesces and says, okay. Now, she was like, oh, I'm his proxy. I'm his common law wife. I was like, common what? What? Girl, don't nobody care about your common law nothing. Baby, you ain't got no ring on it. You're calling yourself his wife. Baby, where's the ring? Baby, where's the documentation? Baby, where is the license? That's like me calling myself a doctor and I ain't got now license. A medical doctor, I should say. I am a doctor. I do have my PhD. But that's like me calling myself a medical doctor without licensing and certification to verify that I am one. Like, girl, fall back. Fall all the way to fuck back, Trish. Anyway, so they tell David to take Trent downstairs so she, could go calm her nerves and get her something to eat. So she goes downstairs with David. And David tries to make small talk with her. She ain't trying to have no parts of David. Girl, she brushed him off with like, I ain't got this. I don't have it to do with you. You don't like talking, so don't talk to me. Keep it moving, honey. I keep telling y'all, it's something with Trent. I can't put my finger on it, but if I could, I would have to watch it. I don't know what it is, but it's something up with her. David is then at home. He wakes up in the middle of the night once again, sweating, but this time he's coughing, and he's coughing kind of profusely. After he wakes up, next we see him. He's in the therapist's office. Beautiful office, beautiful black woman of a certain age, beautiful salt and pepper hair. I mean, everything about that therapist, her office, the furniture, the decor, everything about her natural hair. She just seemed so comforting. Even the way she spoke, the way she dressed. Like if I was to see a therapist, I would want to see her. I loved everything about her. And so she's talking to David, and so David opens up to her about how he sees people and has visions of people. And he tells her all about Sky and how Sky passed and how he saw Sky after he passed. And she asked him, "Did he talk to you?" And he was like, "Yes." And he admits that he sees people, and I wrote this down. He says he admits that he sees people when they die, or when he thinks they're going to die. That's when he sees them. I wrote that down because I paid attention to that. And so he's looking for this quick fix. He's looking for her to just tell him something or do something or have an exercise that's going to fix the problem, make it go away. And she says, "No, that's not how this works. It's a process. It doesn't just go away like that." And he gets frustrated. And he has one of his, visions in his head of him cussing her out and everything, but that doesn't really happen. He says, "I got to go to work," and just storms out 20 minutes early. And so next we see him at the commissioner's meeting. Now, the fact that before we get to the commissioner's meeting, the fact that David wanted this quick fix tells me David knew and realized what was going on with him. He was fully aware of what he was experiencing, and that's why he wanted it to be done away with quickly, and that's why he got so frustrated. So when the therapist couldn't make it go away, because he wanted to not see JG, because he knew what seeing JG meant for him in his head, and he didn't want that. And so I think that's why he wanted it to just wanted a quick fix to be done with it and get past this. But she told him it doesn't work that way. So we see David at this commissioner's meeting. He's presenting a plan that Padilla and him came up with for the mall or whatnot and everything. Marissa, and then they ask for anybody that's against the development. And Marissa comes in with all of her, activists, for the environment and nature and stuff like that with pythons. And she did this metaphor about the python and how it's an invasive species in the Everglades, this, that, and the third, dot. So, come to find out, like all developers, you have to survey the land and see what its impact on the environment is going to be in all of these different, this research and stuff that you have to do. David had not done that yet. And so they were like, "Well, you have to do that." And so he's supposed to get an environmentalist to work with him on surveying the land. And so, of course, he knows Marissa. So he's like, "Well, if Miss Eugene would like," and she was like, "Yeah, I'd be glad to," just volunteers to do it. And so now he has to work with her on surveying his land. So in order to get this development going, I will say there was a recent situation like this in Miami where they were supposed to build this huge mall. It was supposed to be like one of the largest malls in America. In this land out west, going toward the Everglades, and it was just east of the developmental line, the urban development line, because there's an urban development line, meaning you can't really cross that in terms of development. Otherwise, you're going into the Everglades, which is a national park. So, and that mall ended up. At first, it looked like it was going to be greenlit, and they started, doing all types of stuff, preparing, and then it fell through, and they never did it. So this reminds me of that. And this was very recently, like 2018 and 19 or something like that. Anyway, so David goes back to work and opens his office door. Who's sitting at his desk? Elon, Padilla's nephew, and he puts Padilla on his iPad or whatnot. And Padilla goes in on David about the setback that they had down to the commissioners meeting. And David tells Elon, "Listen, I got to end with the environmentalist. I know her. We good. I got this. Don't worry about it. I mean, I don't need you to try." Because the man was coming at David kind of hard. He was like, "Listen, is you going to fire me or what?" And I was with David on that. He was coming off real hard. Anyway, He tells David that Elon is going to now be his personal assistant. He's going to go everywhere with him, follow him around. Get over it. I was like, oh. Anyway, something about Elon, I can't put my finger on that one either. Something about him doesn't rub me the right way. So we get to a point where Elon is at David's shelf in his office or whatever, and he's looking at the pictures or whatever. He sees this picture of the Ville. He was like, "Oh, it must have been hard going from living in the Ville and going to Hurston and the Ivy League school and all this, that, and the third." And David is paying him no mind. So in this exchange, really wasn't an exchange. He was just talking at David because David was silent. David is silent, and he was like, "Yeah," because he called David the N word, and then he said this dumbass cop got himself shot up at the Ville and so forth and so on. And for all of this talk that we have of David, old David being like young David, this is far away from young David, because young David wouldn't have had no parts of this. Young David wouldn't have let him call him the N word and let that pass. Young David damn sure wouldn't have let him talk about his brother like that and not, being ready to knuck if you buck. And I don't like this version of older David. I don't like it. This is not the David we fell in love with. This is not the David yes, the David had his mental issues and so forth and so on. And he was quirky. He was out there. He had some issues, but David was still David. And I think this older version of David, I'm not a fan of in this regard, especially how he's handling this JG situation. He wouldn't have sat there. Young David wouldn't have sat there and just been silent. He was always JG's protector. He was always very protective of JG. And we saw what he did even last episode when they showed us David when he was in high school, when the guy, Perez, called him the N-word, a mess. David goes to the hospital to see JG. He's on the phone with his bust down or girlfriend or whatever she's calling herself today, and lies to her. To me, I thought he was lying, because he was like, "Oh well, my doctor gave me some pills to help me sleep." And in my mind, I'm thinking, didn't you storm out of that lady's office early, like 20 minutes early? I don't remember her giving you no prescriptions for nobody's medicine. I think he just told her that just to appease her, because he probably hasn't been inviting her over so he could bust her down. And he's probably telling her that so she don't bother him about coming over. So then David goes in the room to go see JG, and JG does not look good. He got the ventilator in. It just doesn't look good. And you see, he's still seeing young JG following him along still. And he holds David holds young JG's hand, and you can see he has a moment. Because it really looks grim in terms of the outlook for JG. He comes out of the hospital room and goes downstairs or whatnot, and Elon is there waiting for him. And Elon has to drive. He's like, "Yeah, my uncle wants me to drive you around wherever you need to go." And I thought it was weird. He was like, "Oh, the orange line, da, da, da." And we don't have different colored lines. There's only one train. Well, there's two trains. There's the Metro Rail, which is the big main train, and then there's the Metro Mover. Now, the Metro Mover only goes around downtown Miami. Okay, let's be clear. The Metro Rail goes further, but it doesn't have I guess it does now. It does. I take that back. I take everything I say back, because it does have the orange line and the green line. But if he's going, well, I guess it depends on where his mama stays. Because if you're going that way, you know what? Let me take that back, because we have the one that goes to the airport, and then we have the one that keeps going further north, like to north side. So I take that back. Pay me no mind. But we didn't used to have that for a long time. That's recent. Anyway, David ends up taking Elon to the Ville, and he tells Elon, "I need you to go and tally up all of the apartments that got people in it, all of the ones that don't, and survey them and see how they feel about something or other." He wanted him to do. Basically, he was trying to get him out of his hair, and he had already called him an Uber, had the Uber waiting, and gets in the Uber, and he goes over. Well, he gets out of there, I should say. Next thing we see, JG is waking up out of his coma. Let me go back. David thought Elon wouldn't be able to take care of himself. He thought Elon wouldn't be able to handle himself down there in the Ville, because people were looking at him crazy. We'll get to that later. We next see at the hospital, JG is waking up, and Glow is there, and he's been under for 5 days. So Glow is right there, though. She's right there. Even JG says to Glow he was glad that Trish was not there. So you can tell that's not the happiest of relationship. And JG seems very happy that Trish was not in the room, that it was just his mama. He put it off as, because I didn't want her to see me scared. But I think ultimately, I don't think he's scared for her no more. And she's more clingy to him than he is to her. And so we then see Trish and Trent in the waiting room, and so Shella comes in the waiting room, and there's an empty seat next to Trish. So there's this exchange where Shelly and Trish are talking, and Shelly says, "Oh, I got a friend that's in here," and Trish is like, "Well, my husband in here." And they talk about each other and seem to get become fast friends or whatever, get acquainted real fast. And so Shelly was like, "Yeah, my friend in here, he real crazy, child. He just be reckless, child. I'm just glad he alive." And Trish was like, "Well, my husband is a polar opposite. He always do the right thing. He's a good guy and all that." Doctor nurse comes out there and say, "Oh, Jonathan Young can see people," and both of them get up like, "Oh, I'm here for him." And Shelly looks up at him, and Trish grabs Trent and say, "Let's go." Shelly takes her cue and says, "I guess I'm gonna leave, honey." And she starts to leave, honey. That's gonna be a mess. But they realize they both there to see JG. Anyway, while she's on her way out, Shelly sees David, and um David talks to her, and he's real surprised. He didn't know, I should say, that Shelly's the one who called 911 um, when JG got shot, and he must be ain't seen Shelly in a long time because he was surprised that she still stayed in the Ville. And so after that, she tells him, "Go in there to see your brother. He needs you." So David goes in there, and the family's in there. They're talking to JG. They're hugging him. This, that, and the third. And there's just this distance, this standoffishness that he has with JG. And David was never like that with JG ever. And I don't like the way this is. I just don't like. Now they had their moments as brothers do when JG get on David nerves and this, that, and the third. But David wasn't like that with JG when JG needed David. And at this point, JG needs David, and I'm thinking David finna spring back into action. You get none of that, and it doesn't. It's not the David that we know, and I don't like it. Anyway, Glow is like, yeah, he's gonna be out in 3 days, and we're gonna have a welcome home party and so forth. And she started talking about how the kids at the welcome party gonna be at Glow house. She talked about how the kids at the house did this thing and got this thing together for him that they wanted to perform for JG, that they all excited for him getting out. And Trish was like, he ain't doing none of that. He needs his rest. The doctor said he needs his rest, so he ain't doing none of that. So Trend, if you look at her, she seems a bit off, even in how she looks at Trish and how she responds to her. Either one, she has a problem with her mom, or two, that ain't her real mama. I'm leaning toward that ain't her mama because she seems a little too dark to me in order for her to be the child of both JG and her, because JG ain't that dog. Trish ain't that dog. So how she come out that dog? I don't think that's Trend mama. But I'm just guessing, y'all. I'm just guessing. We get to the welcome home party, and the kids, the young members of the Rainbow Coalition, out there, girl, they done created a whole J-Sex routine, honey. Getting it in, honey. And so Trent even gets in there, because you can see Trent is friends with all of the kids down there to the home, because she be there, after school or whatever. And they done taught her the little J-Sex routine, honey. They got their 8 counts down, honey, and they are giving life abundant. JG loves it, and we talked about this on a previous review. JG has always been comfortable around the Rainbow Coalition. Always, never had a problem. That's why he never had a problem with Miss Elijah. Love Miss Elijah, and is very comfortable. Trish, on the other hand, is very uncomfortable. She looking around, making sure people ain't watching, and I don't even like the way she look. It's a mess. So, while they playing the music and they dancing and everything, some neighbor comes out and tells them to turn off the music and all of this shit. Girl, they better than me. Because had it been me, I would have cussed his ass out and turned the music up. Child. Girl, they better than me. Anyway, so they were talking or whatnot, and so one of the kids, they were asking them how they came up with the routine. And so one of the boys came and was like showing them how, to do the routine. And he kind of tripped a little bit and fell on JG. And so Trisha just blows up and say, see, this F-bomb, yes, F-A-G-G-O-T, shit, dot, 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 dot. And everybody looked like, there was this big, like, gas, because they were like, I know the fuck you not. Girl, Glow has to check her, honey, and let her know, girl, we don't do that around here. These are kids, and they will be respected around here. And so Trish was like, well, maybe it's time for us to go home, JG. JG was like, you can go home and go home. Go ahead and go home. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. Go on. Trent says, yeah, I want to stay too. Told y'all it's something between Trent and Trish. And so she went home. After that, she tried to give some fake ass apology. Nobody was finding her. So then JG and David are sitting down talking at the on the porch. JG, tries to um, make excuses for Trisha's behavior, but we all know what it is. So, but then he talks to David and says, "Well, how was Trisha when I was under?" And David was like, "Well, Mom would know better than me." And he was like, "But I can't talk to Mom. I'm talking to you." And he admits, "I really wasn't there." And you could tell that bothered JG that David was not there, but he played it off really well. And he plays it off. And I know JG probably asking the same thing like us. Like, where's the David we know that was always his protector, that was always there when JG needed him? I don't know, y'all. I don't like it. Shella then comes, and as David is leaving, David was surprised to see her and whatnot. So she goes on the porch. And JG gets up out the wheelchair and puts one more sickening hug. Baby, they might as well have been fucking the way they was hugging on that good porch. David noticed it, honey. Anyway, as David is trying to go to his Uber, Elon pulls up. And Elon up into the vehicle, and Elon did exactly what David thought he wasn't going to be able to do. He done went and talked to all the people, and in his talking to all the people, he done met Mix Elijah. And Mix Elijah done told him all about the family, all about Glow, all about JG, all about David. And he even started calling David Dave. And Miss Elijah told him where Glow stayed. That's how he got there. Anyway, he did say that Mix Elijah was calling him Shinobi. Does that mean that he sucked off Elon like he sucked off Shinobi? Inquiring minds want to know. Anyway, we'll find out, I'm sure. So David leaves. Shella goes over there to talk to JG, and they having this intimate moment, way more intimate than it should be. They hold their hands. She talks to him about how, him getting shot affected her, and she's having nightmares and everything. And she asks him, "Do you remember anything from when you got shot?" He said, "Honestly, the only thing I remember is you." I was like, "Oh, this is dangerous. Trish, you in danger, girl. You in danger." Y'all see what's happening. So then we see David. He's back at the therapist. Now, David starts off like David would. He tries to throw on his charm, tries to smile, use his charm and charisma, and apologize to the therapist. Just at the third therapist sitting there like, she ain't buying it. She saw right through it, and baby, she was like, "Are you still having the visions?" And she starts to talk, and she starts telling him how these visions are a manifestation and a mechanism by which he copes with the trauma that he's been dealing with. And he's always had to do that as a child, and he doesn't necessarily have to do that anymore. As she's talking and talking, she tells him that the reason he saw JG is because he had killed JG off in his head. And that was easier for him to deal with than necessarily him dealing with what JG was going through. He was like, "No, but I'm good. JG is fine. I don't have to deal with it. I'm not seeing him no more." Baby, she kept talking and talking. Next thing you know, Sky comes in the room. Then who do we see? My boy Saren. Saren came in. Then you saw JG. Then you saw Glow. Back when Glow was still living in the villa, had on that old waitress outfit. And then you saw young David. And the therapist is talking to him. It's a beautiful scene. The therapist is talking to him and telling him how he doesn't have to do this anymore. It doesn't have to be like this. He doesn't need to do that anymore. And it ends with him saying, I wrote it down. He said, "I'm good. I really am. But thanks." We know he ain't good. It goes on from there. It was a beautiful scene. We saw Saren, y'all. We saw Saren. I'm so glad we saw Saren, y'all. That was a whole episode. Let's get in the comment section, y'all. That's all I got for y'all this week. It was a long episode. It's a lot for me to talk about, but that's all I got. Until next time, thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. I'm out.